Welcome to Music Detectives with The Sims. I'm your host, Dan, and this is my co-host, Izzy.
Hello!
So basically the premise of this is Izzy is going to start by selecting which house we're moving into.
Actually, we gotta make the sim first.
We're going to make the sim first. Okay. I never get the controls of Sims. And then at some point here, once we get this underway, we're going to pick some of our favorite songs and just talk about them. And feel free to listen along on Google Music or Spotify or
whatever
Pandora.
You have. YouTube even. Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe you actually have the CD.
If you do, well then,
wow,
good job.
That's extra brownie points, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the two songs that we're going to be covering today are not exactly popular songs, per se.
No, because that would be boring to discuss popular songs. So you're just going to randomize our character here and start her life? Or are we going to try to design something?
Just fixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, because I know you can get lost in this, so I'll try to ramble on while you design our character. This is one of the reasons why we've never done one where we design the character on camera, because it often goes long and we often lose Izzy.
Yeah.
But as you play Sims, I guess you can relate, because that's good. I like that. That's a very interesting look.
You know, we'll just go with this.
We'll go with this?
I like that. That's a good party one. Alright.
Really?
Yeah, I like it. Well, on to the actual topic.
Okay, so she's going to be our pseudo music detective. Then she has to have like a musical name. So what would be a good musical first name? Because we can't just call her bass guitar. That doesn't work.
I don't know, but we should worry about...
Let's call her Bossa Nova. There you go. That's a good name. Bossa Nova.
Sure.
No. Bossa first name. Nova last name.
Bossa.
There you go.
Nova. Okay.
There you go. Look at that.
Okay. She's obviously going to like music, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she likes music, because if she doesn't like music, then, you know, let's make her smart and arty.
No, we got to work on the actual subject of the video. This is not a Sims playthrough.
I understand that, but we gotta get this started, and then once you start building or doing whatever you want, we'll be able to focus on things more importantly. There you go. So since you're itching to get to the music, what are your two songs for today? Because we're not doing my songs quite yet, because, well, my songs you could have like the LP or the cassette. So we're going to try to stay more current, more MP3, FLAC, MP4, whatever.
Alright.
I even think there's an OG out there somewhere. So many extensions. We haven't even begun to discuss like video extensions and Windows Media and all.
See what I have to deal with?
MKV.
Okay. The two songs that we're going to be covering today are Addict with a Pen from 21 Pilots off of 21 Pilots, and Romeo and Juliet by Hobo Johnson. And that is off of his debut album, what's it called again? The Rise of Hobo Johnson. Very creative.
There you go. Okay, and so you chose these songs for a reason, I'm supposing?
No, I just picked them completely randomly. No,
no, I hope not.
Okay.
So it's just going to be our apartment? So we're doing some apartment living.
Yeah, apartment building.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Gonna get rid of these doors.
But why did you pick, well, I know why we picked Addict with a Pen.
Oh, jeez.
There, you started the music just way too early, and you're starting another song called Sex in the City.
Maybe we'll cover that later, because it's a good song.
Yeah? Is it a discussable song?
It is a discussable song.
Hopefully the dogs do not try to get in on the discussion, because they don't really know music very well, do they?
Should have just bulldozed a lot.
Yeah. The whole apartment building?
Just the walls, because I don't like these wallage.
Wow, look at you already remodeling. Building up. You're going with like an open floor plan?
Yes. Because
Oh,
of these windows.
how very chic of you.
Well, because of the windows. Okay.
Look, we do have good windows on there.
So let's play a quick clip of Addict with a Pen. That way you can get an understanding of the song, and then we're going to go
If
by
you haven't already heard it.
lyric by lyric, and
Are we
just
gonna-
describe our thoughts on it, what we think it's about, etc.
Alright. Well, right there, you already know it's a sad song.
We haven't talked in quite some time. I know.
So that's the intro to it.
Yeah.
Alright. So, there you
There
go.
we go.
There you go. They probably avoided a strike on that one. So I think what's interesting, the most interesting thing about this song is what happened when we set up for filming, to be honest with you. We knew we needed the lyrics, so I brought up the lyrics, and I found that I've been hearing the song completely wrong. And it really goes to show you how one word can change so much in a song.
Really can. Yeah.
Really can, yeah. See, you just join in whenever you can.
Yeah.
But the lyric is towards the end of the rap portion of it. I guess you call it rap.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's kind of that pseudo rock rap, I guess. But the line is, "Wash me with your water," and I was hearing "Watch me with your water," which to me changed pretty much the entire song. But then once I saw "wash," I realized, well, that's a biblical reference. That's baptism. That's John the Baptist. If that's not the only meaning to this song, I think that certainly factors into it. I think it sounds a little bit like somebody who's struggling and maybe returning or resorting to God, which is something I could relate to. But so that kind of blew my mind right off the bat, just like that. But like Izzy, the Furious Typer. I think, isn't that your rap name, Furious Typer? You don't get a lot of gigs with a name like that, but at least you're true to your identity.
Exactly.
You got the noisiest keyboard. She has the noisiest keyboard. It's noisy, and it lights up. And
It's beautiful.
I thought it was beautiful. I did. I really did. I thought you had the coolest keyboard in the world until last night.
Why?
Because I had to use it. And it was, to say the least, distracting to type on. Because there were all those lights. And you know me, I'm kind of like...
turn them off.
Yeah, see, I was really afraid to do that because I was afraid, like, I might, like, you know... I don't know what I was afraid of would happen, but, you know, sometimes when you touch a keyboard, a computer you're not familiar with, you know, you end up erasing everything. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to erase everything. But yes, starting off with his opening lines, hello, we haven't talked in quite some time. I mean, he could clearly be talking about a person, but he could be talking about God.
Yeah. And I haven't been the best of sons. Again,
Exactly.
Talking about being maybe not a disciple. What is the correct biblical
I
term?
guess you could use disciple or follower.
Follower. There we go.
Adherent, I think, could be another word. I mean, we could probably throw words around all the time. But and I get where he's coming from all of a sudden, because traveling in the deserts of my mind, like, I don't know about you, but, you know, full disclaimer, we both basically suffer from the same crap. So, unfortunately, she's a spitting image of me. But the desert of my mind is not a place I want to be. I really don't want to be traveling there. And that is also a reference to Jesus out in the desert, where he roamed around and he got tempted by the devil.
So honestly, this song is more religious than we prior thought.
But, you know, and it really brings up a good point that I want to reiterate, is that great songs mean different things
to different people.
To different people. There's commonality, but between these themes, but you also have to remember that the music often is there to guide you in an emotional way. If you've ever watched TV with subtitles, you'll see that they put things like sad music, suspenseful music, right?
Yeah.
They always put that. And it can guide you that way, and you do think of it as a sad song. But I don't necessarily know that
It's as sad as we think.
Yeah, it is a little bit about facing down the demons. But at the same time, nowhere nearer his goal. Because he says he hasn't found a drop of life. He hasn't found a drop of water. And obviously life and water are poetically similar.
Yeah.
I mean, we need water to live, right?
And again, we haven't talked in quite some time that this could be the second time, third, fifth, whatever, time that he's been in a Great Depression.
Or he was religious earlier in life.
Yeah.
And see, that's one of the things I don't... You get to my age and you don't really want to read about people that you listen to, because you don't want to know necessarily their backstory. I want to learn about their credibility. That's all I really care about, the credibility of their songs. I don't really care about their political views. I don't really care about their upbringing, any of that. Like, it needs to be on the paper. And even if somebody's writing a really good song about, say, dealing with depression, they don't need to have dealt with depression to write that song. I'm sure it's easier, but you know, he may not be religious, but he may be conveying that theme of broken to the point where you're asking for God's help. You know, in your moment of desperation, you turn to the Lord. Is something that's out there. What do you think about that?
I agree with that, honestly.
And you don't really have any real religious upbringing of any sort. I mean, I've kind of left it kind of open-ended because I don't believe we should really judge one way or the other people, even religions that, you know, I'm not exactly
so fond of.
Well, I'm not exactly inexperienced. I've participated in many different kinds of churches, and I've been around many different faiths, and they all have their pluses and they all have their minuses. A few have more pluses than minuses, and a few have more minuses than pluses. But, you know, the overall theme of God and Jesus, even if you take it to be more philosophical, is a very powerful force. You know, that possibly or definitely there's something out there that can drag you out of the mire. And I think that's what he's relating to. Whether or not he's been through it, from a lot of his other music, I would have to guess that he's been through it, and he was at that point. You know, and here he's talking about running through the sand. And, you know, for somebody who grew up on the beach, running in sand is not easy. And that's a real good metaphor. Music and poetry are, you know, they're one and the same. It's not some people would use the word platitude, but it's not as obvious as you think that they're as connected as they are, because they follow the same rules. And, you know, the metaphors, the rhymes, all of that. Anything to add on any of these lyrics that we've got up here on the screen? Because we've moved into the rap portion of the song. I mean, obviously, holding water is
near impossible.
Yes, but I would also say that it's I like what you're doing with the apartment, by the way. I'd also say that it's you know, metaphorically, that as I hold the water in the palm of my hand, if you stretch that out and start thinking about it more than just the mental word pictures that you see, think about the desperation you would be feeling trying to hold water in your hands. You'd have to keep them together tight, and you'd have to hold that for as long as you have to hold it. And that would, you know, that's despair. Danganronpa. We have our first Danganronpa reference of this series.
Nice.
Danganronpa is, well, it's an anime that you can look
cover
at.
that in another
But
video.
it's the themes of hope and despair. I personally have never seen them more clearly demonstrated in a video game than Danganronpa. And it makes you think that there are the forces of good and evil, but in every single one of us, there are the forces of hope and despair. That's in all of us. Good and evil, a lot of us.
In their intro, they talk about hope and despair being on the same coin. You don't know what side you're on.
Yes.
They're parallels.
That's right. And I think they really, with that theme, they really honed in on something beyond just the good and evil. Because everybody has it. Everybody's filled with hope and despair. And I would imagine holding water in the palm of your hands would be despair. And it's all that he has, and it's all that I need. And the waves of water don't mean anything. There's water all around him, but he has to hold the water in his hand. And again, that's a desperate...
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much hope and good stuff is around you. If you're not trying to hold on to it, that means nothing. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped.
Yeah. And then he continues on where he says, you know, the sand will slow me down and the water will drain. And that's, I mean, to me, that's just speaking of the finality of it.
In fact, I'm only added again as an addict with a pen, who's addicted to the wind.
Well, now that one right there, like, where is he going with that? What does it mean, addicted to the wind? What do you think as you build this apartment?
It's very hard to multitask when you're thinking like that. But
well, you know, you just scroll through that, and you know, because that's what he's saying. What is that metaphor of the wind? I mean, again, it's open ended because everybody can see it differently. Everybody could be addicted to the wind, the rush, the numbness, the whatever it is that is an impediment in your life. That's the wind. And that's why it is so open-ended. He may have a very specific meaning. He may be talking about how he comes up with an idea, and then before he finishes that idea, he's moved on to the next idea. I get that metaphor, don't you? I mean, you see that with me all the time. Things don't quite come to fulfillment.
How does this look so far?
I think it's looking really good. I think it's looking really, really good. But then he goes on, and he says that it blows him back and forth. And that's further just kind of saying that, like, the wind is what you make of it, you know? And he's talking about, again, the day's going to end. There'll be a tomorrow and there'll be a today. And that's flat out saying that you don't give up. You just keep moving forward. Whatever it is, you have to keep moving forward. I mean, I'm not going to springboard too far off of that. But that is one of my core beliefs in life, is that you have to move forward. A college out there has the slogan "Roll Tide Roll," and I'm not even sure which college it is. I believe it's Alabama. I hope the comment section blows up with people discussing my lack of college football mascots. But hey, that's just the way it goes. But that's something that I think. And then see, now we get to the part where he's talking about the walking denial, possibly denying what it is that he needs to fix about himself. Because most people deny what they need to fix.
Yeah, it's very hard to be self-aware or do anything about being self-aware. I mean, you might know your issue, but you might be like, oh, no, that'll sort itself out, and I can just ignore it.
And myself, I'm a prime example. I mean, should I go into this, a brief story of that?
If you want to.
Well, the brief story is that I drank myself silly, went to rehab, got out, thought I could drink again, and within a few months I checked myself in and haven't drank since 1992, not 1892.
And as a
smart asses.
And as a filming, it is 2019, so you can do the math if you want to.
Yeah, because that's a lot of math for me to do. I think it's 27 years. But
you're like, I don't know.
My maths are not strong. My resolve is.
That's a big one.
Because actually, crazy suicidal head case, like, that was me. And that line really does speak to me, because in a lot of ways, one of my trials was sort of filed as that. That's what started the awakening. But then at the end here, this is where I got that lyric wrong. And it suddenly, when you read it, and I urge everybody, when you love a song, or you think you're going to love a song, print up the lyrics. Or at least have them up on a big screen so you can really take them in, not line by line, but as a group. And look at the poetry of these things. Because when I changed the word wash to watch, it changed the song. Because I thought he was talking about a very personal thing between him and his father. And that he was sort of saying, don't trust me. Watch me with your water. Don't trust me. But now it's just God. Because who specializes in dying? When we die, presumably we go to a heaven. I'm not going to get into what is or isn't true, but
yeah, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, we're talking about the metaphors and poetry of music. That's really what we're doing. But then he's screaming Father. Most soldiers, when they die, they scream for their mothers. Just as a side note. So he chose Father for a reason. And, whatever about male or female gods and all that. I'm just lying here. I'm lying here just crying. So wash me with your water. He's asking to become clean again. Whatever that problem may be, whether or not he struggled with it or not, there is that sense of wanting to have that just washed away. And that's why, as he closes out the song, the last lyric, at least on the printed version, is I haven't found a drop of water. And if you're going to wash yourself off, you're going to need a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I look at it. I would actually, I would say that that's more than likely somewhere where he's going. And that does happen. that you do tend to find religion in your deepest times of sorrow. And some people would say that that's not a good thing. They would say that, like, you were kind of forced to find your faith. But that may also be one of the only ways that that door gets open in some people. You know, at their deepest. I mean, you never know how tough you are until you've reached your deepest. You know, until you've really been down in those depths and you've pulled yourself out. And a lot of the songs that we will talk about are about that theme of kind of sinking into your misery and becoming okay with it, and then just rolling forward and trying to improve. Baby steps from the movie What About Bob? But, you know, just even if you just like get outside that day and take in some sun.
Yeah, that's...
You know, and pay attention to the birds.
If anyone out there right now is feeling like that, seriously, it helps so much just to get outside. Even if it's just for like 10 minutes, just taking some fresh air, and trust me, that'll help.
Yeah. It gives you, when you look around, I mean, we're sort of blessed where we are that we have a lot of nature, because I feed a lot of birds here. We got a lot of birds, right? And you go out back and you see all the birds going about their day, and it puts you in your place, and it reminds you that, you know, you're in this big universe, and, you know, I guess our main message is that, like, you're not alone. There's, like, the spirit of a whole giant community of people just trying to pull through things. And that's what I think 21 Pilots really, ultimately as a band, I think that's what they speak to, and that's why I went from being one of the biggest detractors, because all I ever heard was the radio. Yeah. When I started hearing some of their other music and I realized that they were part of the cause, that's when I started listening to them. Songs like The Hype, Neon Gravestones, Addict with a Pen. I mean, those are songs that really, like, I could relate to, and I figured, man, if people get some sort of strength out of that, then that's a hell of a thing. And I think that's my final saying on it, is that I like 21 Pilots' Addict with a Pen because it speaks right to the heart of what people need to hear. Unflinching, self-deprecating.
Yeah.
You'd agree with that?
I would agree with that. Overall, I mean, it's a really great song. Definitely take some time out of your day to listen to it. Really listen to it. Absorb the lyrics.
Yeah,
you can definitely get some sort of knowledge from it that you probably didn't have already. So.
Yeah. So in our remaining time here, we've got another song, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring up those lyrics right now. This one's called Romeo and Juliet. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll just put in Romeo and Juliet and see how much crap we have to sift through. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in Hobo lyrics. See, look at that. See, I may be old, but I know how to navigate, because I was around when this whole thing started.
Okay. So I have it... You press that little arrow right there.
Right there?
Yeah, right there.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Get the whole thing. Oh, my God. So we're not going to go through every single one of these, because a lot of these are somewhat self-explanatory. Mm-hmm. I think, personally.
We'll just read them out still, just so you know.
Yeah, we'll just go through some of them. We're going to skip a few of them, because...
So I have it right at the end, the last, like, verse.
Okay. Apparently somebody's stealing a car.
Conversations from a couch have never felt the same since you looked down in the eye and you told him that things are about to change.
So I pretty much, that sums it up. I mean, of all the ones to pick up, you just start with a summation. That's pretty good. Because, I mean, that is what it's about. Romeo and Juliet is a tragic love story. Does not end well. Correct? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does not. And he references that in here.
Where's Romeo and Juliet?
No, right here where he says, "Dear Shakespeare, could you write a happy ending, please?" That's, yeah, I think that really kind of sums up what he was going for in this whole thing. You know, he's wishing for a happier ending to his parents. And again, I don't bother.
Yeah, he was, if I do remember correctly, his parents did split up, so this is coming from personal experience.
It is. Okay. All right, so let's go through it. I mean, the beginnings. You know, I do like one of the lyrics early on. I do like "Good luck to my future wives and their future lives without me."
You guys will do great.
Yeah, it is very interesting that he doesn't, because he's young, right? Mm-hmm. He's a youngster. I mean, comparatively, I guess. But you know, he knows that like relationships don't last, and that's, I mean, I guess that's a good takeaway from this song, is that, you know, for myself personally, again, because this is, you know, the stuff that I can relate to. All right, so that was kind of an awkward little glitch, but I saw the mailman walking up and our dogs go bananas. The sad part of this is we're not even smart enough to like rewind it and see where we were. But I think what we were talking about a little bit here is the beginning, where he's kind of realizing, you know, love doesn't last. And that is sort of, if I didn't already say it, always keep that in mind, that you'll have a lot of breakups. I mean, I had a traumatic breakup at like 18 and 19. I'm not going to go into it right now because that's like a whole, that's like a whole nother story. But yeah, it's where a lot of my darkness oozes from. But then he gets into some of the, you know, a little bit, like, he's talking about the twin-size mattress and stuff, which, it's not that, there's no, he's just talking about his mattress. But sometimes, in poetry, that's what you do. Is, you are telling a story, and you do have to have, like,
filler.
I guess you could call it filler, or just action words, you know? But then he gets into the Romeo and Juliet theme, and he even quotes some Shakespeare, and then he's, you know, talking about Juliet partying pretty hard. And he's painting a really good word picture through just simple lines. I mean, getting drunk and eating Percocet is not something I'd recommend at all.
Don't do
but
that,
it does paint a picture. Juliet just puked off the balcony. It's how romantic. Like, he's getting it. And he goes through and he's kind of just talking about, you know, kind of partying, having fun and all of that. And he was talking about how, you know, early love is really good and fresh and exciting and all of that. And that's something, I mean, obviously somebody who's been married for what, 26 years now? Because my just out there, it'll probably come out in every video, so you'll get bored of hearing it. My sobriety date and my anniversary, wedding anniversary are the same exact thing. Same day. Not thing. Right? You knew that.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's just waking you up, letting new people know. You are designing a nice house, though. What exactly are you on right now?
Oh, I'm just on our house that we had. Just fixing it up.
Oh, this is the one that Gnome Sweet Gnome.
Yeah, Gnome Sweet Gnome.
Oh, okay. So you abandoned the apartment?
I didn't abandon it. I saved it.
Okay, but what you... yeah, that's the game room right there that has one game in it. Yeah. We built a whole building for one thing. But yeah, so our early marriage, you know, it was all fun and excitement. And then we had you.
Aww. And it all went down.
You want to know something, though? In some ways, that is very true. But it's not... You know what I liken it to? A prime example so you can understand it. It's like the death card. You can easily look at it as just, oh, it's the death card. The death of everything fun. The death of all, you know, of all the things we used to like to do. And being able to spend our money on adult things and not video game systems over and over again.
Put a fridge in the game room.
That's
just
good. You gotta have your Mountain Dew when you're gaming, right? But it's not. The death card doesn't mean death, does it?
No. Just means change.
Yeah. The
change
end of what was and the moving on to something new. And, I mean, for me, and again, I mean, I hope people hear all this. But, you know, Izzy over here, my little cohort who's building this, she's the only flesh and blood I've ever known. So...
Oh, you're going to make me emotional.
Yeah. I'm trying to make you emotional. I mean, that's why we chose some of these subjects for our first episode. But I didn't really realize that we were going to go down this road while talking about Romeo and Juliet by Hobo Johnson. But he does make some good points about, you know, overall about how, you know, things do start off really fresh and exciting. They do get a bit mundane. And the secret of my marriage is the same as my secret to depression, which is just to accept sometimes the bad truths in life. You know, you just accept them and you move on and you just say, oh, that's just the way it is. It's not going to be fresh and exciting all the time. And knowing that in advance makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that's why he's, you know, even talking a little bit about later on here where he's talking about dreaming of the day when he's a man and what he'll do. You know, he doesn't want to pass on how he's feeling nowadays to his kids, and that's definitely something I can relate to. Yeah, and I think he sums that up when he talks about he'll probably just stick with the Netflix and chill. You know, I mean, honestly, some people aren't cut out to be parents, and you don't really know that
until you are one.
Yeah, and like I could argue strongly that I was and I wasn't. I mean, you know, the only thing I know for sure, which is weird, is that if I was cut out to be a parent, then that's us. That's our family right there.
I love that.
If I was cut out to be a parent, it was the parent of a daughter. That was something I just realized during one of the early Women's World Cups. That, you know, that's just the way I you know, felt about it overall. So we're moving on. He talks about, you know, Dear Shakespeare, write a happy ending. He's talking about, I think he's going back to his his childhood, talking about, you know, crying, the family not having money because of the divorce. Because he says, I am not missing both my Christmases, though a family would be nice. You know, that's got to be, that's something that I have no experience in. My parents are still married. I don't really know what that would be like. I know people who come from divorce, and basically what I see is it kind of cuts both ways. I mean, you're either okay or you're not okay.
Yeah,
and I really can't say. Yeah, I can't really say that there's like, you know, I've never come across any that seem like they're just, you wouldn't be able to tell in some way or another, either, you know, good or bad. So then we're going into him closing, talking about either his dad or the, you know, if he's writing this from the point of view of the child, sort of the eventual breakup, what led to it. One of the things that I really like that he does here is where he talks about the lyric, for dad loves to shout real loud, loud enough to knock the lamps and dressers to the ground. That's a very interesting way of painting that particular picture. And it really shows you that, like, if you use certain words, there is no metaphor. So it means what he's saying. The sentence might become a metaphor, and you start to see what he's talking about, which is obviously the guy, unless he's Black Bolt from the Inhumans, his voice didn't knock things over, you know. But as a kid,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah, he does it. He didn't see it. He didn't see his dad knocking all of his stuff over, and it really paints kind of a sad picture. But by saying lamps and dressers, it's, you know what he's talking about. It's very specific, even though he's making a metaphor. The use of specific stuff ties it together in a way that you don't have to look for a deeper meaning to that line. You get the deeper meaning of the entire sentence. And then we're moving towards the end here, he closes his last lyric on here, because that's the sound of people falling out of love, and that's kind of a sad way to end this song. It really ties it together. I think a lot of it is that he really thinks that he's going to repeat the same
thing that
pattern.
His parents did.
Yeah, and it's just going to continue the cycle. A lot of times they talk about the cycle of abuse, and I know from one of the guys that I really listened to, Dr. Drew, that cycle of abuse does exist, but it's not as guaranteed as people want to make it out to be. I guess that's the best way, without looking up quotes and doing all that, because I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to read this all off of memory. I'm not trying to get too scientific on it. But what does it speak to about you personally?
I really just what you said about how he doesn't want to repeat the cycle of just bad relationships with his with his son that he eventually has.
Yeah. And
yeah, and again, it's kind of painting the father as kind of a bad guy because he has a song dedicated to his father, and a lot of his lyrics do involve his mother. Like, for example, if you want a rapper that calls his mom every other day just because he misses her and she misses her baby, something like that. So it's kind of showing how split and how different their personalities were and how it just clashed and it caused issues for him. And he feels like if he falls in love, that's the same thing that's going to happen to his children.
Yeah. But a
and
lot of
it's
it,
a guilt factor.
I think a lot of it does also come from maybe their economic situation. I mean, it's not about making up excuses for people's poor behavior, but, you know, a lot of times the choices we make in life make choices for us eventually. I guess that's kind of a
way to put it.
Yeah, not necessarily coming out of this song, but you can kind of see it. You know, it does seem like it's possible because, you know, normally when you talk, like, you know, about a pawn shop, you're generally talking about somebody, you know, obviously, you know, somebody being broke. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times that broke comes from some sort of addiction, alcoholism, something like that, that forces you to sell those things off while at the same time preventing you from going out and making money on your own. You know, because it's very difficult.
And what's the lyric? From every ring, from every pawn shop?
Yeah. From every ring at every pawn shop, yeah. The sting from every teardrop. And that is kind of the disappointment. And that is one of the things, you know, that I can speak about. Is that's a difficult part about being a parent. Disappointing your kids. I mean, I know people who don't have a problem disappointing their kids. And to some degree, I just think they're one step away from, like, eating people's faces. As crazy as that seems, but that's, I mean, that's me personally, not necessarily like putting a judgment on anybody, because who's to say, you know,
what's right or wrong?
Yeah, and what their situation is. But I mean, disappointing your kids to me is one of those things that, like, I mean, I almost said like it's an original sin, but I guess it's an original sin in my book. I guess that's maybe the way to say it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess maybe ultimately what we've learned from these two songs is that maybe I was cut out to be a parent. It's possible. I don't really know. And I do like it. And to close this out, because we are starting to run up against the clock. One of my favorite Dr. Seuss sayings from his radio show, running up against the clock. I just love that line. But like I was saying when we had our little hiatus waiting for the postman, at the end of the day, lyrics are what?
They're just words on paper.
Typed on a piece of paper. And, you know, this is a good example of where you have to scratch below, maybe not digging the style in which the song was presented. I guess that's one way of saying how I feel about the particular song. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate Hobo Johnson's kind of roughness. I do like that. I do give him credibility. That's why I listen to his music and look into his lyrics. But again, you know, you sometimes read those lyrics and see what's really going on there. You know, because oftentimes we overlook a message because we don't like the envelope. Ha!
Ooh.
Look at that. I should put that on a friggin' t-shirt. But it's true of music. A lot of times people get caught up in the style, the instruments that are used, what genre of music it is. I mean, that's one of the things that I've always considered to be one of my favorite personal traits, is that I'll dig gold out of whatever music you throw at me. Like, that's the literal truth. You know, if it's mariachi music and I can't understand a single word that's being said, I'm gonna dance. And if it's a sad song wrapped up in a pop song,
guess I'm dancing to something not good.
I'm dancing and weeping at the same time, because you know, that's what you have to do. And you have to do that in life too. And it, you have to, one of the things that I always tried to teach Izzy over here was that every artist has a great song, and if you go through life with that sort of as your credo, I guess would be the word, you never know what you're going to discover. You never know where you're going to find it. And I mean, for me, I found it in 21 Pilots. I did not like them, and now I need my daily dose of hype, Neon Gravestones, Addict with a Pen, just to, remind myself, the most important message is that you might not be able to touch them, you might not be able to talk to them directly, but there are people out there producing music that are on your side, and they're out there letting you know that you're not alone. And that's one of the messages that I think today's songs, both the commonality is that you're not alone, and that's important. That is very important to know that it's not just you, that others have been through it and others have made it. And in my case, I've made it for, nearly 40 years, 30 plus years of dealing with, just
hardships.
Struggles, hardships, whatever. And I'm not whining about it. It's just there. That's just what it is. That's just how it is. Some days are really bad, and a good song will just let me ease into it and get through it.
Yeah.
You sort of feel the same way about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know sometimes you lose yourself in your music just to kind of like embrace the sadness and get through it.
Yeah. So what's today's lesson?
I guess today's lesson is you're not alone.
Yeah.
That people do get what you're going through, and normally we close our show in sort of a slapdash little song where we try to be weird, but I think at least this show we should just close with come back.
Yeah.
Whenever you just need to hear a friendly voice, hit us up on our various social media.
Links will be in the description. Comment any songs that you want us to cover, and there's a chance that we'll listen to them, and if we like it, do an episode on it.
Yeah, until then, just stay strong and realize that you can overcome.